Probably help if I did that. Welcome into the Stanley Cup preview edition of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook network. I am Adam Bernard at Pucking Thoughts. The man to my right is at Ant Rivera 86. The man down below is at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Moraes. Boys, Stanley Cup Finals here, but the flip side of that means we have at most 7 hockey games left this year. So it's there's the other side to that sword.
Yeah, we're here. We've made it. Final 2 teams left, and very exciting Stanley Cup coming up, not only because it's the Stanley Cup, but I got my bracket correct. Not so much on the west side. That kind of got jumbled, except for the Oilers making it all the way east. I think we all got correct, except Adam. You had you didn't get there with Carolina, I think it was, but I had Oilers and Panthers from the beginning, even though I did change my mind with Dallas. And obviously, once I do that, that means that that team is doomed. So the Oilers and Panthers in a final. I got the Panthers winning it all. I'm sticking to that. But it's nice to not only see Florida in there back-to-back. Sorry, Adam. But the fact that we get to see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the Stanley Cup Finals makes for a fun time. I know Chris always says that Gary Bettman doesn't want the Canadian teams in there, but we got one in there. So let's see how this goes. I still think Florida takes it. But Adam, how are you feeling, man? Because that was a tough road for the Rangers heading into Game 6.
I mean, I'm still in bitter Ranger fan mode. As you can see, I'm wearing an Oilers shirt. So, Leon Draisaitl on the back. So I'm still in bitter Ranger fan mode. But nonetheless, I mean, when we can get into this, we talk about the Rangers season wrap later, but just, Cliff Notes version. I mean, what about their play suggested they were going to win that series? The way that the Florida was playing, the way the top line, wasn't producing. Well, like I said, we'll get into that more later, but it's disappointing. But it wasn't, Igor kept them as alive as they could. So
do you look at this now? Because now the fact that the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup, and you're like, dang, this is a missed opportunity. Because I thought whoever, no matter what, was winning the East, I thought was going to win the Stanley Cup. I thought the easier road was through the Oilers. And now that the Oilers are in it, do you feel a different way about it?
No, because I mean, maybe if the series had gone differently and the Rangers were playing better, yeah. But it's with the way I'm feeling right now, it's tough for me to be like, oh yeah, they would have beaten Edmonton, because if they played like that against Edmonton, they'd lose against them too. So, there wasn't too many moments or games in that series that led me to think like, oh, they could really go toe to toe with anybody that wins that series. But here we are. We'll talk a little bit more about the Rangers later, as well as the Stars and Joe Pavelski retiring, but not officially retiring, as he kind of phrased it in a certain way. We'll certainly preview the Stanley Cup Final. We'll talk about the Tom Fitzgerald's comments about the 10th overall pick today, and of course, the highlight of today's show. No, it is not the Stanley Cup Final preview. It is the Wingstop draft that we're going to draft the sauces and rubs. There's no boneless or bone in here. The sauces apply the same, so we're not going to get into that debate today. But I know Chris is excited to. I know he doesn't have Wingstops up there, but he knows his sauces and his rubs.
Look, there are a ton of great places here where you can get some. I mean, obviously my wings are boneless. We don't have to worry about that. We already know that one's an obvious here. But there are lots of great spots here where you can get just the assortment of sauces and rubs. There's too many combinations that it's a lot. Sometimes I got to think about it before I go to the restaurant, because I can't decide once I'm there. This is like Montreal trying to formulate their power play. This may take years before we come up with something that is sustainable. But I'm very excited for it.
I know what my first pick overall is going to be, and if you've paid attention to any of our discussions, you probably know what my first pick is going to be.
I will say this. I don't mean to cut you off, but I did tell my wife about this draft, and we had a pre mock draft before we got on the air here. So I am a little bit prepared here, ready to go. Hopefully everything goes my way.
Now, the purpose of this draft is to get us warm up in mock draft mode, because once the Stanley Cup Finals wrap up and free agency wraps up, we do weekly mock drafts here on Total Hockey Now throughout the summer. we don't go away. We might take a week off here or there, but we stay with you throughout the summer doing mock drafts. But before you get to mock drafts in the offseason, we got to talk Stanley Cup Finals here, because that's what we're here for. We've made it through a season, and it's time to talk finals. The Florida Panthers, we discussed a little bit before about their performance against the Rangers. They each won their conference finals, winning 3 straight after trailing 2-1. If you want to talk about the regular season series, they haven't played since December. The Panthers won both of those in November and December, but that was what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Those games don't matter anymore. Let's see here. Connor McDavid leads the Stanley Cup playoffs in points with 31, 5 goals, 26 assists. Leon Draisaitl second in the playoffs, 28 points, 10 goals, and 18 assists in 18 games. Maybe you like to see McDavid scoring a little bit more, but as long as he's racking up those assists, who cares? Matthew Tkachuk leads the Panthers with 19 points. He's got 5 goals and 14 assists in 17 games. Let's see. And he led them in 24 points in the postseason last year. And then, we all know the fractured sternum derailed them. But when we just talk about the skaters here, before we get into the goaltending and the blue line, just talking about up front, it's clearly a matchup of depth versus, 2 of the best players on the planet here. So how do we see this shaking out on both sides?
I definitely give obviously the depth credit to Florida. Obviously, they have the 2 best players in the NHL and the Oilers. And I talked about this last week, is how much they wanted McDavid to be in this spot right now. And if the Oilers can somehow, pull this off and have, McDavid, we'll get into Conn Smythe later, but have McDavid be that guy. I mean, this is a big time for not only the NHL, but for like casual fans that, we all know that the NHL is not as promoted when it comes to their players as other sports are. And a lot of people wouldn't know Connor McDavid if they saw him. But like, you do know Connor, like when you think of hockey,
the name
Connor, you think of the name Connor McDavid, and to have him be the guy to win a Stanley Cup and to get the Conn Smythe and be the face of the NHL, that's big for hockey this year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be some good hockey. I think what's impressed me the most about the Oilers is their play, not defensively, but their penalty kill. Their penalty kill has been really, really good. They have not only shocking when somebody told me this, only the Vancouver Canucks have succeeded in scoring against them, which I could not fathom that Dallas Stars were unable to score a goal on the power play, which
Edmonton has killed off 28 straight power plays. So 14 against the Stars and then 14 more before that.
Shocking. Just could not believe that was actually a thing. The team that struggles so much with their goaltending, a team that employs Darnell Nurse, and yet here they are as one of the best penalty kill teams in the obviously remaining, but how they got there is probably due to that. You did see Connor McDavid take over in game 6. That there's nothing better than a toe drag backhand top cheese goal to start the fun off.
In a phone booth, too.
In a phone booth. He made Miro Heiskanen look terrible, which is quite the task, if you ask me. Miro Heiskanen is, to me, like a pillar on any team's blue line, and he turned them inside out like he wasn't even there. So kudos to McDavid for once again embarrassing a poor man on the ice. But Florida's got the depth that we know. This is a good hockey team. They're gritty. They are deep. They can play multiple different ways. I still think Florida will take this, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a walk in the park as people think it will be. The Oilers have played better. It's going to come down, obviously, to goaltending and special teams and all those fun words. But the Florida Panthers just seem like they've been here. Now they know what they need to do to clinch it. They are healthy. The NHL has decided to give us 5 business days off, so I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I was caught watching the Blue Jays play, and that was unfortunate. So I
played the A's this week, so at least you got a chance there to get some wins.
I need hockey back this week. Like I would watch basketball ahead of whatever else is going on right now. I am searching for something to do.
NBA Finals kicks off Thursday. Dallas, Boston should be a good series. And now you mentioned the amount of days off. Now, usually I'm a big fan of every other day, and then maybe once in the series you build a second day off, between games 4 and 5 or 6 and 7, whatever the case may be. Because of the distance, this is the most spread out, widest Stanley Cup distance traveled, 2,540 miles, whatever that is in kilometers to you guys up north of the border. But I certainly understand, because that's like a cross country flight every time, and I get it. You don't want a poor product because the guys are shot from a 6.5 hour flight. So I'm okay with the series being spread out for that reason. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of distance east-west, but let's face it, if it was Florida-Dallas, what is that, an hour-and-a-half flight, 2-hour flight? Big difference there. So usually I don't like the spreading out, but in this case, I get it.
I will say this. I mean, it's not like they are flying commercial on like tight seats,
right?
Where you
but
can't
the people
move.
that are covering the series, all of those people, the media, they're flying. They're not on those charters, or some of them are not. So, and there's not a ton of Edmonton to Miami or Edmonton to West Palm or Fort Lauderdale flights.
I'm just saying they fly private.
That's the players. That's not everybody else involved with the series, though. That's not the media.
I'm not worried about the media. What was his face?
I mean, Carolina Edmonton was also a notoriously bad travel series back in 2006, the last time Edmonton was here.
I don't think the travel at this point is the be all end all for them. I don't know.
Well, part of it too is you get 2 Saturday games, because Hockey Night in Canada is going to want so. Right. Get the series starting on a Saturday, and they spread it out so you could get I think it was game 4 that comes up the following Saturday. So you get, especially because that game 4 is going to be at Edmonton. So it's Hockey Night in Canada, literally in Canada. So that they had to make that happen once. So that's also part of it.
I can live with it. I can live with like having it be extended. It's perfect for me. Obviously, this goes all the way to the holiday in Quebec, which is called Saint Jean Baptiste, which is on the 24th. So if we get 7 games of that, I mean, then you basically have to survive July, and then August means September's around the corner, which means training camp is here. So we don't have to worry about not having hockey for that long of a time. I'm in.
It'll be a short gap. Now, you started talking about the Edmonton penalty kill versus the Florida power play, which is doing well, but let's flip that around a little bit. The Florida penalty kill also had a fantastic series against the Rangers, only allowed 1 power play goal, I think, in 15 opportunities. And then you got the Oilers power play, who is, top notch, and they do a great job. So I think that's going to be a matchup that kind of defines the series here a little bit.
I don't want to deal with. Here's the thing. We are old enough to know that we shouldn't be betting against McDavid and the power play. Like this, I feel like we've been here, we've done that. We know how this goes, right? Like they're too good to be stopped. When Connor McDavid decides he's going to do something, he's just going to do it. So I feel like it's a battle of the Titans here, because again, Florida is a very good defensive hockey team. They are structured. They're tough to play against. Like, even if the Raiders didn't play well, a lot of that credit goes to the Florida Panthers for making it extremely difficult for their best players to be their best players. So I am excited to see how that starts for Edmonton. Same thing for Florida, and what adjustments are going to be made on the fly. Because if the Oilers are unable to score on the power play, like that's a huge problem for them. They are not a 5-on-5 team. There's no
especially against
mixing
Florida.
It up here. So if I'm Florida, I'm doing whatever I can to stay out of the penalty box. I do not want to end up there for 2 minutes. As a team, no matter how good you are, you can't afford to give the opposing team's best players opportunities to hurt you. And so it's going to be a fine line for guys like Sam Bennett and Nick Cousins, if he plays, to not put themselves in positions where they're giving Edmonton's power play the chance to hurt them.
So yeah, there's a special teams matchup now with a goal. We haven't talked about the goalies yet. You got Sergei Bobrovsky, who allowed 2 goals or fewer in 13 of his 17 games, including 5 of the 6 games against the Rangers. He's 12-5 with a 2.20 goals against and a 908 save percentage with 1 shutout in the playoffs. In that last series against the Rangers, the shutout comes there, as well as a 1.89 goals against and a 921 save percentage. Also, his 8.55 save percentage against high danger shots on goal is the best among the goalies to play at least 5 games in the playoffs. Second best on that list at 8.42 is Stuart Skinner. Yes, that is correct. He's 11-5 with a 2.50 goals against and an 897 save percentage with 1 shutout. He really has rebounded since he got benched for Calvin Pickard in those 2 games. He's gone 6-2 with a 181 goals against and a 920 save percentage. And he's also given up 2 or fewer in 7 of those 8 games. So Stu Skinner has certainly earned his paycheck in Game 6 there and kept them to win the series and kept them alive there. But if it's head-to-head, we're going to say Bobrovsky's the better goalie here. But has Skinner gotten to a level where you feel confident enough that he's not going to have like a game where he just gives up 4 or 5 goals at this point?
I was definitely surprised at the way he bounced back, like you said, after Pickard came in for him and the way he has played since then. And of course, Bobrovsky's the guy that we would say in a head-to-head would be the lead there. But of course, now that's going to change and Stuart Skinner is going to somehow play out of his mind in the Stanley Cup. I don't know. It's going to be tough against this Panthers team. It really is. And with all the depth that they have in the forward position, it's going to be really tough for them. I think that the Panthers are way better than what the Dallas Stars and what they had to provide. I think they're more seasoned. They have the experience in the Stanley Cup now, and this is going to be a tough go. This is a true challenge for Skinner. And if he somehow comes out of this with a Stanley Cup, more kudos to him.
Yeah, Stuart Skinner is the definition of high danger Russian roulette because you have no idea what you're going to get from him at this point. Because he was spectacular in Game 6. The Edmonton Oilers had 10 shots on goal, and I couldn't believe that an offense that dynamic could not figure out what to do. They just looked at times like they could not generate any offense. And give credit to the Dallas Stars. They kept pushing. They kept pushing. They kept pushing. Were those all quality shots? No, but they kept pushing. It's hockey. Pucks go off skates. They go off bodies. They end up in the net. So we've seen like the 2 extremes of Stuart Skinner here. Like we've seen him be the reason his team wins, and we've seen him be the reason that his team loses. And you have no idea which one you're going to get here. No idea. If I'm Florida, I want to get as many pucks on goal as possible because I want to figure out is Stuart Skinner locked in or is he not? Like, is he falling apart or is he in it? I would just fire everything towards the net. Good news as well for Sergei Bobrovsky. If he is leading the league in high danger scoring chances saves, it means he may be able to slow down Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman scored a goal from outside of 3 feet, and that got me out of my couch because I could not believe where he shot the puck from. So if Bobrovsky can contain everything around him and Zach Hyman can get clear, I don't know. Somebody's got to find a way to clear Hyman out of the front of the paint there. But to me, this comes down to goaltending and special teams. So which goalie is going to steal a game for his team? Because they're going to have to do it at some point. And I have a lot more faith in Bobrovsky doing so than I do Stuart Skinner. But it wouldn't shock me if Skinner does it because he's just so boom or bust right now. Like, you don't know what's coming out of him. He could be amazing, or he could give up 3 goals on 7 shots and be done after 10 minutes of the first period. There is no middle with him.
We'll talk more Conn Smythe in a minute, but I could almost make the argument that if Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup, as much as we're all ready to give it to McDavid, Stuart Skinner may have to get serious consideration if they win, because if they do win, he's going to have to play a major part in that. So something to consider there. So yeah, you look at this, we look at the schedule here. You got Game 1 coming up on Saturday, Game 2 Monday, Game 3 Thursday, Game 4, like we talked about before, Hockey Night in Canada for Game 4 on Saturday, the June 15th. Game 5, Oilers at Panthers, Tuesday the 18th. Panthers head back to Edmonton Friday the 21st. I hate Friday games. And then Game 7, if it gets there, June 24th at 8 p.m. that Monday. So there's the schedule for that series. And one other little footnote here, Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett got to be hated in the Battle of Alberta for a while. They get to be hated again. You get to rekindle that, passionate hatred towards your opponent. So I think that'll be fun to watch too. Going back to something you said before about Florida does like to play on the edge. Is that because of what we talked about with not giving Edmonton those power play opportunities? Is that not harm Florida, but is that going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them to be like, hey, normally you're at a 10, we're going to need you more at like a 6.5, 7 in terms of the aggression level?
No, just don't take penalties, man. I mean, you're at this point. We saw a lot of different cases where I guess early in playoff series, there were a lot of scrums. I felt like in the last 2 series, there weren't as many. Like, players understand how important it is to be disciplined. So you're not going to have, or at least I don't think you're going to have those stupid, just undisciplined penalties. I expect the Florida Panthers to maybe get caught a couple of times hooking Connor McDavid, just because that's the only way you're going to slow him down. So probably, but I don't expect any of those bad penalties that you take. Those I don't know, those scrum penalties for roughing, those kind of like soft
offensive zone penalties.
Offensive zone penalties are a no-go. Every coach hates that. I feel like you're going to get a lot of the classics. High sticks, if it hits you in the face, seems like an easy one. The puck over glass kind of thing. Like, all of those types of penalties are going to, because they're black and white. They're easy to call. I hit you in the face, draws blood. Here we go. There's no thought process for it. But I think a lot of those plays that are going to be closer to the line, I think referees are just going to let them go. And I think players as well are going to figure out that they can't not play the way that they want to play, but they got to make the first things first is you're not putting your team in a tough situation. So play better as a team. Don't take a penalty. Like, don't run into the goalie. I think there was one in that series, like Mikkola just like runs into him. And then I think it's Eric Gustafsson takes like your team's going to go up 5-on-3. He takes an unnecessary scrum penalty, and then it stays 5-on-4. And I'm looking at that going like that. You can't,
that can't happen.
We can't be doing this. Not at this stage. So I'm expecting to see a lot less of that. I don't think we're going to see a ton of power plays either. I'm maybe 3 or 4 total for both teams. I can't expect it being more.
All right. Before we get to predictions, let's talk a little Conn Smythe odds. Let's really paint the full picture, and then we'll each make our picks for the series here. So we're talking Conn Smythe favorites there. And you can see the odds going across the bottom of the screen. Sergei Bobrovsky currently, and Alexander Barkov at plus 450 are the odds on favorites. After McDavid, who's at plus 220. Then you got Matthew Tkachuk at 550, Evan Bouchard and Leon Draisaitl at 950. And Carter Verhaeghe, Gustav Forsling, and Sam Reinhart would be the next 3. And then rounding out I picked the top 6 for each side: Zach Hyman, Stuart Skinner, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So right now, where everything stands, would we agree? I mean, is it the odds-on favorite? Is it McDavid? Is the fact that he's only got 5 goals maybe hurt him in that consideration a little bit? Bobrovsky really stepped up last series. Barkov has just been Mr. Consistent throughout the playoffs. So a few different ways that we could go here.
Yeah, I still think it's McDavid. I think that you look at the rest of the group there, like you said, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Nugent Hopkins, they're all kind of similar and close in points together. I think, McDavid has he's got 31 points to Draisaitl's 28. Yeah, I think it's got to be McDavid. But like you said earlier, if somehow Stuart Skinner has this monster series where he's able to get this team, I think he's going to get he'll get more consideration over the Draisaitls and Bouchards of the world, even the Hymans of the world, who, has the most goals on the team with 14. But I'm going to stick with McDavid being the guy. I just think it just makes too much sense for your face of the NHL, who not only leads the team in points, but has just been, such a force in this playoffs this year. And we talked about how big he was in the Dallas series. And if he has another big series here, I think he's got to be the odds-on favorite to win it.
I think that's fair. I think for me on the Florida side, it's probably I feel like whatever team wins the Stanley Cup, they will also the player will win the Conn Smythe. There's more than enough choices on each end that it wouldn't have to go to the opposing team unless, I don't know, some miracle happens on ice. But to me, it's on the Florida side. Bobrovsky seems like the obvious choice. If it's not going to him, it's going to Barkov. Those are the two shortest odds. Just makes sense. On the Edmonton side of things, though, Evan Bouchard is plus 950. A couple of shows ago, we had him at like what, plus 3,000. So I think there was some value there. So since you already bet Evan Bouchard plus 3,000, we don't have to go back and look at it now at plus 950. There's no real value that's there. I mean, Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. The Edmonton Oilers go as far as he does. So it's like, you know, are we betting against them again? No, I don't think so. You can sprinkle most of, I guess, your dollar bills there. To me, the interesting one here is Zach Hyman at plus 10,000. Like, Zach Hyman currently leads the NHL playoffs in goals. And I understand where he scores in front, but hockey's about scoring goals, and he does that consistently. He has done it all year. He is now doing it here in the playoffs, and he's doing it the exact same way. He's going to those areas, and the puck touches him in some way and ends up in the back of the net. And that is, again, what hockey is about, putting the puck in the net, and he has done that. At 10,000 to 1, as Kevin Malone from The Office once said, if somebody gives you 10,000 to 1 on something, you probably should take it. And I most definitely will. Because let's say he scores, I don't know, 5 or 6 goals in this series, which is not impossible for Zach Hyman, considering the power play that he plays on and the line mate that he has 5-on-5. Not an impossible task here. Let's say he flirts with like 19 or 20 goals here in the playoffs. It's hard to look at him and say no. It's exceptionally hard. The same way we looked at Austin Matthews, if he had scored 70 goals, about winning, you know, most valuable player, and you're like, yeah, there's others, but 70 goals in the modern NHL is quite something as well. So I think it's the same argument, at least for me, for Zach Hyman here. If he can hit that number, it's going to be really hard to look at him and say, I know that others helped you get there, but you can't discredit what he's done.
Now, couldn't you make the same argument for Sam Reinhart leading the team in scoring? He's got a few other guys. He's got a goalie and a couple other guys that would be more of an obvious choice on paper. If Reinhart keeps scoring, and you know he does a lot of work on the power play too, you can make the same argument there, plus 7,500.
You could, but it's not 10,000.
Right.
That's what it is. To me, that's what it is. Sam Reinhart is like, he's been very good. To me, I feel like it is harder for Sam Reinhart to win it on his team than it is for Zach Hyman to win it on him. And I know that's saying something because Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. But I just feel like everybody expects Connor McDavid to be elite. And to, like, it's no shock that he's leading his team in points or that he's doing what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, the bar for him is so high. And like you said, maybe some voters say, hey, he only had 5 goals. Which is great because it means that everybody else is benefiting from it, which is a good thing in hockey, right? Your teammate's supposed to make the rest of the teammates better. But to me, again, at 10,000 to 1, I just feel like that's a stretched odd right there. Like, if you're leading the NHL in goals and you're that far back as to winning it, I feel like there's a ton of value there, even if it doesn't hit.
What, we haven't really talked about Matthew Tkachuk here. What does he have to do to kind of take the lead there for Florida to win? He's got 19 points right now, only 5 goals, 14 assists. But that, what was it, plus 550, I think it was.
Plus 550.
I feel like that is, considering where he's at right now, I'm considering that's a good move right there.
The thing Tkachuk has going for him is when he has an impact on a series, he's not to say he's flashy about it, but it's obvious that he's having an impact, whether it's scoring, whether it's his physical play, whether it's just that's a kind of, so if he's having that kind of an impact, then I think and it's more of a higher scoring series, which I don't think we're really expecting, although it wouldn't be surprising either because of the amount of talent on the ice. Then I think that that favors him. For me, if this is more of a tight, low scoring series like we saw in a lot of both conference finals, then I think that starts to favor Bobrovsky for Florida. But I think if Edmonton wins the series, yes, it would be on Stuart Skinner's performance. But I think for Edmonton to win the series, they're going to need McDavid and Draisaitl to start lighting the lamp like crazy. So I think if Edmonton wins, it's going to be because it's more of a higher scoring series that they figure it out and they figure out a way to start scoring, and it'll be one of those two horses. So for me, it's more Bobrovsky and the goaltending end of it. If it's Edmonton, it's probably more, odds-on favorite McDavid or Draisaitl. Gustav Forsling's name we hadn't talked about yet, and I keep seeing his name being thrown around a little bit. They don't give it to defensemen often. We were talking, Miro Haskin in previous round. We've talked about Evan Bouchard, but is he a realistic chance, or is it just between Bobo and Barkov and Kachuk, there's just too much there?
There's too much there to give it to Gustav Forst. He's been great. He's been great for his team. He's a key part of that success. But again, like, he's got to beat out all these other players in front of him. And I don't think that it's capable. It's the same thing for Kachuk, right? You're like, well, what does he have to do? He needs Barkov to, I don't know, fall off the face of the earth. He needs Bobrovsky to fall off the face of the earth. Like, he has to go that far. When we watched Kachuk last year in the playoffs, he was very noticeable at every point of every series. You knew that he was there. He was clutch. The moments that were there, not that Barkov wasn't good, but Matthew Kachuk was the engine that drove that team. I can't say that's true this time. And that's fair, because I think Florida is a better team this year than they were last year. There are lots of key parts there that are helping this team advance. But then what you do is you dilute the vote, because there's so many options at that point that you can choose that it doesn't shock everybody. To me, last year, it was Matthew Kachuk. That was the obvious choice because he drove the engine for that team. This year, it's not as obvious, and that hurts his chances because there are other players that you could give it to.
Last year, they needed Kachuk to be that guy to get as far as they did this year. Not to say they didn't need him being at his best, but they didn't need him to literally put the, because last year they had a few injuries too, and he had to throw the team on his back. This year, he had way more help. So, yeah, I think at this point, if it's Florida, I'm leaning more towards Bobrovsky. It's Edmonton. It's one of the big two there. Okay, so we've talked preview. We've talked Conn Smythe Odds. It's time to put the predictions down on tape here. I put mine out on Twitter the other day. I will explain that at the end. But Ant, who do you got here, and in how many games?
I am sticking with my original before we did our
Brackets.
before we did our brackets. I had the Panthers winning this, and I'm going to take them in 6. I'll give the Oilers 2 games here, but I think that the Panthers are too high-powered to have too much depth. I think the only team that came close to what they had, and it was a shame that the top line could not do anything, but the Rangers, depth-wise, I think were the most complete to take on the Panthers, and they just could not. They could not. They were just overtaken by every aspect, and I think that the Panthers are going to, finally get the deal done, and I think win their first Stanley Cup ever. I think it's going to happen now.
I have the Panthers in 6. I don't think this series is going to go 7. I would love it to. I don't think it will. I will take Florida in 6. I picked Florida to win the Stanley Cup. Not changing it at this point. Do I care that the Edmonton Oilers are a Canadian hockey team? Gary Bettman's going to find a way to make sure Edmonton loses. He has allowed us to get this far. He has allowed Canada to have hope. He will in some way take it away from us. Not sure how yet, but he's going to do that. It's going to be crushing. It's going to be heartbreaking. But I am very much okay with the Florida Panthers winning. There's nothing wrong with that.
I would love for the series to go 7. I really, really would, just so we have hockey as late into June as possible. But I don't see that happening. I would like to point out we did talk brackets earlier. I did make a perfect Western bracket. My Eastern bracket was shot, but my Western bracket was perfect. Here's what I'll say, and I've got Florida in 5, and I'm wearing my Oilers shirt, but like I said, that's more of a bitter Ranger fan there. But I think when it comes to the matchups here, obviously you got 2 of the best players on the planet in McDavid and Draisaitl, but Florida has just shown an ability to just roll their 4 lines, shut lines down. I think they're going to have a tough time getting any offense in the games in Florida. Edmonton, I think, fares a better chance to score when they have the last change and they have the home matchup there in Edmonton, and they can figure out if they want to spread them out or if they want to load them up, McDavid and Draisaitl. But Florida has this look of a team that's on a mission. If Tampa Bay, no problem. They go to Boston the next round, no problem. They take care of a Ranger team, no problem. I think Edmonton here, this is, the year where they get the experience, and then maybe next year or beyond is when they actually win. I just think it's a tall task with the depth issues on, the advantage Florida has over Edmonton. You look at the blue lines, there's no debating who's got a much better blue line and who is much more comfortable rolling 3 pairs versus, Edmonton that, is Darnell Nurse out of the woods yet? I don't know. He was playing better, but need to see more of it. So I'm going to stay Florida in 5. I know I'm going out a little bit on a limb there, but I just think that Florida is going to overmatch them, and I think this will be, Bobrovsky continues to play well, and I think they take care of business in Game 5 at home. I think Edmonton will get one of the games in Edmonton, but they're going to go back down 0-2.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, there's always a year where a team loses out in the Stanley Cup, and then they're just the next year, they're just that team of destiny. And I think that this is that Florida team. I think they are going to take care of business and finally get it done and finally win the Stanley Cup. And they have the roster to do it. They brought a lot of the guys back. They added some pieces, and I think they are ready to finally hoist that cup.
Kind of got that Colorado vibe of 2 years ago with Florida. So that's what I'm feeling there. Howard Bender checking in. Always appreciate him. He's got Florida in 6 like you guys, but he's rooting for Edmonton like me. So seems to be the consensus there.
Good for Howard for picking Florida in 6, because if some of you missed it, Howard Bender and Jim Bowden, right? They had a pie bet, right? Jim obviously living in Florida, Howard, Rangers fan, unfortunately. So the loser had to take a pie to the face. There is an excellent video of Howard taking a lemon pie to the face. I'm not sure what it was. I was watching it. I felt good, because Howard had some things to tell me about my picks on, the Rangers when I said they were going to go down. Obviously, they did, right? I'm not here just blowing smoke for the fun of it. So it's just one of those things that you just love to see, really. You just love to see, the chaos in it and the fandom keeping it. Howard is very good at football, very good at baseball, but I think he should leave hockey to the experts here. We could handle that.
See, I'm not a fan of the pie bet, not because I'm okay with embarrassing but I like pie too much. Like if I won the bet, I wouldn't want to throw it at, I would want to eat it. So I guess if I lose, and it's okay, because then it's on my face. But I couldn't waste a nice pie like that. I can't do it.
I'm just saying things you just love to see are people losing bets when they were so confident about something.
Definitely got to go check that out. Roto Buzz Guy on Twitter if you want to go check out the pie video. Now, the 2 teams that did not make the Stanley Cup Finals, do a quick season wrap here for the Stars and the Rangers. We'll get to the Rangers in a minute, but some breaking news earlier today out of Dallas. First and foremost, congrats to one of the best American-born hockey players of all time, Joe Pavelski. Now, he's smart here. He didn't do the thing like where he retired and then he feels like maybe in 6 months I want to come back and unretired. He says he's taking a break for this year, but he's not officially retiring or calling it anything like that. Over 18 seasons and 1,533 games played. Former 7th-round pick turns 40 next year. He's the 25th player to appear in 200 postseason games, although he's the only one of that group to not have a Stanley Cup. 476 goals, 592 assists in over 1,300 regular season games, and 74 power play goals, the most for a U.S.-born player in the playoffs. So happy trails, Joe Pavelski. Now, when we get to the actual series here, did that Edmonton comeback in Game 4, did that just really crush Dallas beyond all, did that just end them? It seems like they just didn't ever play. I mean, not that they didn't play well after that, but Edmonton kind of controlled the games at that point.
They did up until they got to Game 6. I mean, Jake Ottinger faced 10 shots. 2 of them went in. I get that it's Connor McDavid. He toe dragged Merrill Haskin in a phone booth and put it top cheese. I understand how that is. That's tough, man. That's a tough one to swallow, but you face 10 shots. Can't do it, man. Can't do it. And where's the rest of the Dallas offense? Where's the rest of them? It wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough to win. I think they put up a fight. They demonstrated that they could. I mean, you got to find the back of the net, right?
Yeah.
Teams that win games win because they score goals. They played well defensively, but they score goals. Dallas had all the depth. They had all the keywords that coaches like, and they couldn't find a way to get it done. And yes, I mean, Joe Pavelski has been a great player for a long time. Absolutely love that he still rocks the total white warrior hockey stick. You can see it from a mile away. Definitely gonna miss that. But to see what he was able to do, even at age 39, like there's some players that can't do what he did. An expert at just tipping pucks in front of the net, a craft that may be lost as we go on because players are highly skilled and they're good at shooters and everything. But Joe Pavelski definitely has earned himself. I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but to me, he's a Hall of Famer at some point.
Definitely Hall of Famer. I don't know about first ballot. Maybe if he has that cup name on the cup, that changes it a little bit. But yeah, without a doubt, a Hall of Famer.
I think that also the injury to Chris Tanev, even though he played, I don't know if he was 100% for games 5 and 6. I think that hurt because he was such a force earlier on in the playoffs, and to have lose him in those crucial moments, just not even having him at 100%, I think was a little bit of a downer for Dallas. And you said Pavelski is going to take the year off. Like is he not playing next year, or is he just taking the required summer off season off?
The way he kind of phrased it is he needs to figure out, because he doesn't want to miss out on his kid's childhood and stuff like that. But I think all he's doing is, if he says he retires and then all of a sudden in 6 months he can't stand being home anymore and wants to get out and there's a key injury and he can sign, it just doesn't look, oh, I'm unretiring because this, the Florida Panthers had a major injury and they have, I'll take the vet minimum to go play there or something like that. What he does is he just leaves the door open, like, hey, if I decide to come back in the year, if that passion is still there and there's an opportunity, that's all that is. And I think you're going to start seeing players that feel like maybe they still have something to give, but just need a break at that stage, 39 years old. I think you're going to start seeing more and more of that, because let's face it, Joe Pavelski is in somebody's top 6 on at least half the league, right? Yeah, if he wants to come back next year. Yeah.
He's on the top line in probably a dozen teams. Easily.
So when you're in a position like that, I guess you're able to say, hey, I'm not walking, I'm walking away, but leave the door unlocked. I might come back. Now, the other thing we're talking about, we haven't mentioned with the Stars, is they go 0 for 14 in the series. We talked about that with Edmonton earlier. That's not going to cut it. And they went 4 and 6 at home in the playoffs. I understand they were a good road team, but that's not, you're not winning losing at home. That's just, you're never going to win a championship if you can't be at least 500 at home.
No, you got to win on home ice, man. You can't let opposing teams walk into your building and take wins. Can't do it. Be a 500 team on the road if you want, but do not lose games on home ice. It's an unacceptable thing. To me, if I'm a coach, I'm like, hey, man, we are not giving up a game on home ice. We have everything that we need. We have last change. We got all this, yada, 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 yada. You can be a good road team. Not a problem. You do not lose games on home ice. You come in, you do your job, you win, you find a way to do it. You don't lose games on home ice.
The other thing I'd be curious about too, and I know like hindsight's 2020 and all that, but when the Stars were playing the Avalanche in the second round, Valeri Nichushkin goes out with his issues. He was leading the playoffs and scoring at that point. Colorado was going as he was going. I'm curious how that series and how the Western Conference playoffs shake out if he stays on the ice and doesn't have the issues he has, because Dallas he cut up Winnipeg good, and Dallas didn't look like they had an answer for him early either. So
I guess like the great Kanye West said, I guess we'll never know.
No.
Can I just say one more thing, because we were talking about Joe Pavelski? He's 39 years old. Another 39-year-old player in Corey Perry, who is now in his, 5th Stanley Cup opportunity after the whole fiasco in Chicago, where he goes.
True.
All that aside, the fact that he went from a last place Chicago team to now going back to the Stanley Cup again, quite the feat, I'll say.
So yeah, he won the Cup with the Ducks in 2007, and then he went 3 straight years and lost three straight times. What was it, with Dallas, Montreal,
Montreal, Tampa Bay.
Tampa. That's So We'll see if it's if it's 4 out of 5 for him, or if he actually gets to raise the cup again for the first time in 17 years. Kudos on a long career, if nothing else. Now, let's look at a little Rangers here. Had this show or stream happen a couple of days ago, there would be a lot more venom, we'll say. But let's just go through the facts here. 1 through 15 on the power play is not going to cut it. The Rangers, if you're going to say the Rangers outplayed them in any game, it was game 2, and that's barely true. They needed overtime to get the wins they got.
They stole game 3.
They stole game 3. That was all Shesterkin. You talk about a guy who could have won the Conn Smythe as a loser. Igor Shesterkin was on that path. If they had somehow beaten Florida and then lost in the West and it was all low scoring, he might have gotten it. I know Trouba was playing with a significant ankle injury. Adam Fox said it. It wasn't. He got the Nick Jensen in the injury, aggravated something from earlier in the season, so he was playing a little bit hobbled. Bottom line is, against a team like Florida, you can't have a top line disappear. Like, yes, Laffy played well, Trocheck played well, Panarin kind of disappeared, but at least the other two guys were playing. Kreider, Zibanejad, Roslovic clearly not working up there, and then whatever else they tried, Laviolette tried, just wasn't going. You're not going to beat a team like Florida, nor are you going to go deep in the playoffs if you don't have your top line going. So, the decisions to be made in the offseason, but and it's not to take anything away from Florida that played a great series. They did their job. They shut the Rangers down. If, like we said, if it wasn't for Igor, that's probably a sweep or a 5-game series easily. So, it's tough to constantly be getting there close, but no cigar. And, it's the window is not closing yet, but it's soon to be closing for the Rangers.
Look, this wasn't last year, right? Last year was unacceptable.
Yeah.
The way they lost to the Devils was unacceptable. I'm a Devils fan. It was unacceptable the way they lost to the Devils in the first round, even though the Devils were a little bit higher in the standings than they were and had the home field. This year, the Rangers fans should not be disappointed in what this team was able to accomplish. Like you said, they just ran into a buzzsaw that was Florida. And Florida just kind of, took over that entire series outside of that, game 3, which they still held in hand. And like I said, the Rangers kind of stole. The only thing that I'm worried about with this Rangers team is they did it with Henrik Lundqvist. And now here we are with Igor Shesterkin, another great goaltender. And they keep just coming up just short. Like, we still got a long career ahead of him for Igor Shesterkin, knock on wood, all that stuff. But, I asked you this before the playoffs, and now it comes back into play. Here we are with this core group that can't seem to get over the hump. And we're talking about the top line that has struggled consistently in the playoffs. Breadman has, Mika has. Like, is it time now? You go from Gallant now to Pierre Laviolette. Is now the time to now switch things up with this core group, or do you try your best to keep adding to the group?
I think you got to take at least one more realistic kick at the can here with this team. Definitely some shakeups, but the fact that Lafreniere really blossomed in the latter part of the season and in the playoffs, that gives you hope for next year. We talked about the player Trocheck, Mr. Consistent throughout the regular season, and then in the playoffs again. You still have a pretty strong blue line, and just hindsight's 2020. But when you look at the opponents the Rangers play, let's be real. They played the Washington Capitals, who there's about 4 or 5 teams who probably would have swept the Capitals out of the playoffs in the first round, and Carolina. And again, maybe they weren't as strong as people gave them credit for up front, and the Rangers had control early in that series. And if it wasn't for a Chris Kreider hat trick in the third period of Game 7, who the heck knows if we're even talking about the Rangers playing the Panthers right now in the last round. So
look, that series wasn't as easy as the 3-0 lead looked. And like you said, Chris Kreider basically saved them in the third period with, 12 minutes to go to win that game. That end of that series was a precursor of what things were to come against the juggernaut of Florida. It just felt that way.
Well, definitely decisions to be made with the Rangers, and we'll be tracking that throughout the offseason here on Total Hockey Now. As you can see on the bottom of the screen there, follow us on any of the Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Total Hockey Now. Now, we're going to do Just going to do a little quick hits here before we get to our Wingstop draft. The Devils are open to moving the number 10 pick. Quote, if we feel it helps us now in the foreseeable future, then yes, I'm listening. New Jersey GM Tom Fitzgerald said on Monday, quote, I haven't gotten anything yet, but the more I talk to teams, I say, listen, I'm open to moving number 10, but it's going to have to be something significant, a.k.a. a goalie or something like that. The Devils have 6 picks in this draft, the aforementioned number 10 selection, and 2 third-round picks. They traded their second-round pick this year in the Timo Meier trade last year. So this is good. This is what you want. We want your GM to say, hey, we're going to go out and shop and make some upgrades. And he's got a nice piece of trade. He's got a nice trade chip there. Interesting to see who bites on that, what the offer is. Does Boston chime in with Linus Ullmark? Like, the bottom line is that pick needs to be used to bring in a goalie. Even if it's not directly, it has to be used in a way, in a progression to bring a goalie in.
No, absolutely, 100%. That what Tom Fitzgerald said right there was, show me what goalies you got. Here, I'm dangling my 10th pick for you. Let me know what you have here. And that's what the Devils desperately need, a goalie. We saw it at the end of the playoffs last season. We saw it all throughout this year. Then they made the trades for, Jake Allen. The last time I think that the Devils traded for a goalie during the draft was when they brought in Corey Schneider. And that worked out about a season or two before he got hurt and then was never able to regain his, strength back. But yeah, goalie. That's my whole offseason is, who are we going to bring in to be the goalie? If that's not the case there, then you know what? I can't take the team too seriously if they don't have a legitimate goalie going into, at least a number 1 goalie going into this upcoming season.
They got Bo Horvat. The Devils were. That was the guy who was selected with the pick they got for Corey Schneider. So there you go, Horvat.
I can't imagine the Devils getting anything. Like, to me, like, Fitzgerald's keeping that pick. The 10th pick is not. Like, it's top 10, but it's the 10th pick. It's not the 4th. It's not the 5th. Not even the 6th, right? It's the 10th pick. And if you look at the free agent market for goalies, it is atrocious. So the Devils have to do it via trade. So if Fitzgerald's saying, hey, I need significant return for this pick, I'm saying, hey, man, like, I might be your only customer. Because who's trading a top goalie? Like, the teams that are winning are not. And the teams that are garbage don't have that goalie. So where am I buying, right? Like, you talk about the Boston Bruins, I feel like they might be the only team who says, hey, I'll do it. And I mean, maybe they don't. Like, I just don't see, if I'm a team understanding where the Devils are coming from, and I'm saying, hey, you don't need a significant return because your need is greater than what I need to get back for it. You know what I mean? There are lots of teams that will line up for Linus Ullmark, and I feel like they would pay more than what the Devils are willing to pay right now. Like, I think it costs the Devils a pick and probably a player, like a prospect or something, to be able to go out and acquire a goalie. So saying, hey, I'll give you a 10th pick and I want something significant in return, like, I'm laughing and saying, hey, buddy, come back down to earth, right? Welcome back. It's probably going to take a little, like, it would probably take a prospect as well coming the other way with your pick, because I have what you want. And there's not many people who are going to give it to you. Like, what other team has an extra goalie that they're just willing to give out? Also, Boston's in the East. I don't know if I'm giving away a player, like a goalie, to a team that I may have to face at some point in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, there's not many teams that have those. Maybe Vegas, right? With the kind of like Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson kind of thing. Maybe Vegas bites because Vegas doesn't have any picks, but they don't seem to really care about that. Maybe they need to offset some salary and they say, hey, we can find a way to make this work. But there are not a ton of teams that are lining up to say, hey, I'll give you a goalie and maybe more so I can get the 10th overall pick.
Well, I mean, it could be part of a package. It could be the first and the third. I mean, Jacob Markstrom is another consideration. I had to kick the tires on him again. I'm sure Calgary would be okay with a 10th overall pick being part of something else and a deal there as well. Bottom line is he's motivated, and everybody. I mean, listen, a year ago we were all sitting here going, maybe Akira Schmid's the answer. We've come a long way.
Do you guys have
Jake
no faith
Allen
in
right
Jake
now.
Allen? Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have no faith in Jake Allen? What are you talking about? Man's elite, I've heard.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he'll carry 60 game workload, no problem.
Look, I need him to play however many games it is so that Montreal gets a second round pick for him. Like, I think it's conditional on how many games. So for me, being biased here, 110% bias, I need Jake Allen to play 60 games next year so we can hit that threshold. So we can get a Devils second round pick and then watch the world burn. So, like, I'm not rooting for it, Ed, but I mean, 60 games of Jake Allen. And like New Jersey misses the playoffs by like 3 points or something, and I don't know, just all of chaos breaks loose. That's
so let's say that the goalie is off the table, right? And he still wants to make that trade. Where are you improving if you can't get the goalie?
nowhere.
Or are you still taking the pick?
Take the pick. Where else am I going to improve? I don't like. They don't really need a ton of forward depth. Like I feel like once Timo Meier figures out how to score again, they're going to be okay.
He's healthy. Yeah, he was got
like
healthy.
Dougie Hamilton was hurt the whole year.
Yeah.
So adding him to an already good defensive core. I mean, Nico Hischier was hurt. Jack Hughes was hurt. All these guys were hurt at different points. Those are significant pieces to lose. So I think the Devils are a better team than what they showed us.
And Nemec next year too should be a little bit better.
They need a goalie. So if I'm dangling my pick, I know what I want in return. I'm not taking anything else. This isn't a case of where like the Leafs go out and sign everybody else that they don't need and not improve the position that they need to improve here. This isn't going out to get John Klingberg. I need a goalie. And that's the only reason I'm moving that pick. If not, take the player. That's it.
I would agree with that. Now, we've gotten to the point in the show that we've all been waiting for. It's time to do a little Wingstop sauce and rub draft. We talk plenty of wings on this show. Boneless wings versus, bone-in wings. That's not what we're doing today. We've done that plenty. We're going to do, we each going to have 4 picks here. It's going to be a snake-style draft. Let's bring up the draft board. There you go. Wingstop, if you're watching, throw some wings at us. We'll certainly take, coupons, whatever. But this is just because we all love wings. So we're going to do this. We're going to get a little background music going here. Let's see if we can. Let's see. There we go. No, not that. Yeah, we could do a little rock music in the background. That's fine. Generic rock music courtesy of StreamYard. All right. So I did a randomizer before we took the stage. I will be going first. Anthony second. Chris third. Like I said,
I was rigged.
Well, listen, you get the turn there. You get 2 good picks there. So, I mean, I would almost trade with you if we had time. Maybe if we could have worked something out. But nonetheless, without further ado, I'm on the clock. I got to go first here. And I'm a huge fan of the Louisiana rub. It's got just the right amount of kick. It works in boneless. It works in regular wings. It works in tenders. I mean, that's my number one. I don't think there's any surprise there. As I mentioned before the show, if you've been paying attention, that's what I love. That's my favorite from there. I got the first overall pick. Not going to look a gift horse in the mouth here.
Yeah, I was concerned at first when I saw the draft rankings here, and how we were set up here, that you were going to take my pick, but you didn't. And then I remembered this guy loves the Louisiana rub, so that's where I felt he was going. I am going with my favorite flavor ever, lemon pepper, coming to me.
No surprises there. That going off the board. I assume that you'd be taking that one there. That's why.
And those two got to go under rubs because they're both rubs.
That's right. Let me move those down. You're absolutely right. So our rubs go off the board here. We fill our rub spots. We can leave that phrase out. Chris, you take the next one.
Oh man, I wanted lemon pepper. I knew it wouldn't make it past Ant, so I feel like that. That's why I said it was rigged here. I will start, I guess, with the easier one here. I'm a difficult eater by nature. I will start with a sauce. I will kick off team sauce. I enjoy when my boneless wings are in original hot. That is good. I'm okay with that. I will do original hot. There's all different kinds of hots. You can do mild, you can do atomic. Atomic, it depends on where you go. And sometimes I don't want to deal with the consequences 24 to 48 hours later. So original hot, I feel like
nice balance.
Keeps the intestines cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since I get the turn here, I know some of you thought this was an advantage. There's only 2 rub flavors left. I hate garlic. I'm not a Parmesan guy. So garlic and Parmesan are just not on my team. So we are not doing that. And since I have to take a rub at some point, I will do plain though. I have no problem with eating plain. I can eat a hot dog plain. I can eat a hamburger plain. I can eat a pogo plain. So I have no problem eating my boneless wings. Just plain.
And
I'll
you
do
can
that.
dip them in ranch. You could dip them in honey mustard. I mean, any other sauces on the side. Now, I honestly thought plain was going to last a long time. So that was my first surprise of the draft there. I thought I might be able to just have that one left for me at the end.
I thought the same exact thing. I was like, you know what? I'll save plain for the end. I feel like that's like everyone's going to go for all the flavors. Plain you can mess around with, and it's always a people pleaser. You'll never be disappointed with a plain piece. I'm gonna
None
go
of you
with
took plain to start with. All you guys took the best 1-2 punch right there.
True, you got it. We had to take our favorites, so
Yeah, there was no way Louisiana Rub was making it back to me. I had to take it.
yeah. It definitely would not have. Even if you would have went lemon pepper, it would have been a swap. It would have been
a spite pick.
Yeah, it would have been a swap. I am going to take my second favorite. I mean, I feel like this has just landed at my feet. Garlic Parmesan is my second favorite one. That I think goes under flex, right? Because that's still considered.
So all the dry rubs are gone.
Yeah, look, garlic parm. That's my second favorite flavor, and I'm a happy camper right now. That's for sure.
So I like your team right now. You got two good varieties there. Now I'm happy here because now I'm on the turn. So I'm going to get to have two nice saucy picks here. First up, I got to go Hawaiian. I love that Hawaiian. It's very good. Tastes great. Everybody likes it. Nobody's disappointed. So that's going to take my sauce spot right there. Now I've got a pick to make here because there's 1, 2, 3 sauces I would be happy to have that remain here. And I'm going to get one of them. It's just a matter of whether I'm going to get one of those other two. I feel like we're talking wings. You got to have a traditional buffalo wing. Now, I like a good hot wing. I've got a little bit of a tolerance for it, but when you're eating a lot of them at once, like I can't do too much. I'm gonna take the mild, and I'm gonna has that as one of my flex sauces, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm coming away with here right now. So I know I'm gonna have to get the leftover of whatever's left here, but I'm all right with what I got.
I feel like for me, that's the first stolen sauce because I was going to go mild. Mild is like that plain, right? The plain.
Yeah, just the plain.
I feel like mild
sauce
is just like another one you just pick out. A good pick there. Since I couldn't have Louisiana Rub, I'm gonna go Cajun. That kind of falls in that same category for me. So I will take the Cajun as my sauce. Yeah, I like that one.
And I like about the Cajun too is it's kind of like a mix of a couple. You still get a little bit of that Louisiana Rub vibe. It's just more saucy. So Chris, now he's on the turn again. He's going to get to make two nice picks here.
Yeah. The problem here as well for me, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I don't have a Wingstop here. So some of these flavors I'm trying to base off the ones that I know like locally here. I will go, the first one will be easy here. I will go with hickory smoked bacon. I enjoy the hickory smoked bacon. Barbecue, sorry. I enjoy the barbecue chips. Hickory smoked. Perfect choice.
Can't ever go wrong with that.
Figured that was
going. Smoked bacon's not exactly my, it's not my go-to, but I feel like that's a solid third line center that can maybe move up to the second spot if you need him, kills penalties. You can move him down to the fourth and makes your line pretty good. Now here's the problem here. Mango habanero is a no-go. I do not like mango. Spicy Korean is like, I don't know, like the spicy part is fine. I don't know what the Korean is. I don't know how the Koreans do in their sauces. So I'm gonna take Atomic. I feel like that's like drafting like a 21-year-old out of the KHL. Like it can go well, or it could fall apart. So I'm gonna go Atomic.
All right. So
I understand it's a lot, but look, man. Sometimes in order to win a championship, you got to do things you may not be used to doing. I can handle the Atomic. I understand what I'm setting my body up for, but no pain, no game at this point. So Atomic it is.
Love the hickory smoked barbecue pick there. I was kind of hoping that would be one of the ones that would make it back to me. There's two left on the board here, Ant. So what are you leaving me with? I have a preference of these two, so don't take it.
I am glad that Chris took the Atomic. I don't want that agita, afterwards. And for that reason, that is also the same reason why I won't take mango habanero, because that's kind of a bit spicy for me. And also Me and my wife just tried that spicy Korean. We liked it a lot. I think that might become a rotational pick. So we're going with spicy Korean here.
And I'm very happy to hear that pick because I was hoping mango habanero would make it back to me. And here's the thing. It's not, like I said, I like a good hot sauce. And I get a nice balance here because I get the mild buffalo sauce. Love the flavor of a good buffalo sauce. But now I get my kick wing. I get my mango habanero, a little sweet, mixed with that nice pepper of the habanero. So I got to be honest. I'm very happy with how my team came out. Like I got 4 out of the 5 I wanted. So I could not be walking out of the draft room any happier.
Those are terrible.
I mean, getting my first 2 picks being my 2 favorite sauces, that's like, getting like Connor McDavid first pick and then coming back around and getting Jack Hughes in the second pick. I'm very excited for this. I know that Chris is feeling a little. I see a little salty coming out of Chris. I know I think we're gonna have to do.
I'm not salty. I'm pepper. Right? That's what I am at this point. Not salty and pepper. Lemon pepper would have been good. I know. Didn't get it, but like exactly, I feel like I got the 3rd pick here. Apparently this was random. I assume it was run by the same people who do the draft lottery. Gary Bevitt and Bill Daly sitting in a room here. They said, "Hey,
they don't like those Canadians, man." Like you said,
Chris is Canadian, so he's gonna go last. But no, my team is very good. No, nothing crazy here. The original hot, the plains. We were like, "Oh, it's plain," and I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. It's better than Hawaiian. It's better than mango and all these fruits." The hickory smoke, and again, the atomic. Maybe less people will eat it. Like less people will want to eat the atomic. More for me. Like I don't feel like I'm sharing a ton of my picks here. You know what I mean? Like these are mine. Nobody's coming to me and be like, "Hey, Chris, can I have a plain one or an atomic one?" I feel like they're all for me. So I'm very happy with my team. I don't know if it's winning the cup here, but it will definitely put in a much better effort than the Rangers first line did.
I feel like that now to help Chris out here, we are going to have to pick one of his spots with I assume would be different sauces. We could also do Buffalo Wild Wings. I feel like this was such a success that now we'd have to venture out into these other saucy worlds.
Well, I'm not just limited to sauces here. I already have a side potato themed draft. I already got those options lined up. So we
got Spud draft coming up.
Yeah, Spud selections. Yes, that'll be coming up real soon here. Might have to bring a 4th person in for that one because that's going to be there's going to be a more thought in that because at least with this, it's chicken wing. So it's just whatever flavor. Like you're talking different side potato dishes. You got to think about different meals. We'll have a breakfast category and all that. So. I just love that I have a nice mix here of across the range of heat levels here. I got the hot with the mango habanero, the mild buffalo, the Louisiana rub in between, something sweet with the Hawaiian. I'm ready to roll 4 lines deep here. I'm ready to go.
I don't know. I do feel like Chris's original hot and plain, those are good good standard picks. Like I would take those. Like, those would be my backups.
Like I really thought I was going to get plain coming back to me in the last pick. So once he took that off the board, I mean, like I said, I'm happy with my team, but I really thought plain because there's different sauces you could dip in. Sometimes you just want a good crispy wing, So
plain is my Philip Deneau.
Got it.
All around.
I'm sure he's thrilled.
You know what you're getting. Look, he's solid all around. Good player, knows what he needs to do. Nothing crazy. It satisfies. May not be your first pick, but solid, and you know what you're getting. And everybody needs one on their team. So.
I'll be certain to get King's PR on the line and let him know that Philip Deneau is the plain wing equivalent at Wingstop. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to hear that. So there, we got one more thing to do, of course, before we get out of here. We've done mask off a couple of times last week. Let's bring sweater weather back. And here it is for this week. We're going Kelly Cup edition. We got the Kansas City Mavericks versus the Florida Everblades. Now, if you use this year's Kansas City jersey, there was no way we were going to pick Kansas City because it just has like Kansas City Mavericks written across. So, but with 2 gray jerseys for each of these teams, we got the previous logo there, the Kansas City Mavericks on the left with the angry horse head, Bronco head, whatever we want to call it. Then on the right, you got the alligator that's kind of in the shape of a hockey skate with the blade kind of being tied into the Everblades design there. You can kind of see the logo on the upper right-hand portion of the screen there. And I purposely did not take their white or green or blue jersey because it looks way too much like the Whalers and it would have been a landslide. Nonetheless, here we are, Kansas City Mavericks versus the Florida Everblades. What do you guys got? What are you taking?
Look, the Mavericks one, I think, is just I like the color scheme, and I like it having the logo on there, but I just feel like it's too plain to me. I don't know, something's missing out of that. But the play on Everglades for the Florida Everblades, I think that's the sealer for me. I'm gonna go with that, but I will say this. On that jersey, I would prefer it to just be I don't like the words under it. I don't know. I think it's just too much, but I do get it's kind of like in a skate form. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Now that I'm seeing that as is the way it is, I get it. So I'm gonna stick with Florida Everblades.
I just don't know why. I get why there's an alligator there, but like, what does that have to do with Everblades?
Because the Everglades is a big national park in Florida. It's one of the
no, that I know.
Yeah.
But why? So why the alligator?
Because there's a lot of gators in Florida. I mean, you can't play golf.
All of the Florida Gators or something. I know there's a football team, but I don't know. Play on like I feel like that's just like okay, like I get it, but it's just like I saw swing and a miss here. This is a Javi Baez swing right there. It just did not connect. I will go with the Kansas City Mavericks. Not that it's any better. These are not. None of them really kind of tickle my fancy here. So, but the Kansas City one is better. Color scheme is better. The horse head is very, it's very basic jersey. It's fine, but it's not like college level. Like it's an ECHL jersey, and I'm okay with that. I'm very okay with the Kansas City Mavericks. I will take it because I feel like if I keep banking it, I keep putting money in my RSP or my 401k. Like I'm gonna at the end of the year, I'm just gonna have so many jerseys. I feel like I'll need to buy out of
the league's gonna make you spend because you're not spending enough.
All right, you got to hit the cap floor.
I know, right? I can't just be like the former Arizona Coyotes and just pick up Shea Weber and Pavel Datsyuk at their careers that they're never playing. So I will buy the Kansas City Mavericks jersey because it's solid. Everblades, man, swing and a miss, man. Florida, I don't know, snappers or something, but Everglades was just not it.
As somebody that appreciates a good dad joke, I love the name Everblades with the Everglades and all that. I mean, to me, that works. Jersey-wise, I'm also going with the Everblades here. I'm a sucker. Green and blue are my two favorite colors, so anytime you're going to combine those, I'm automatically going to be partial to that. I like the design of the logo. And I mean, in the current Kansas City Mavericks, even current or old one, I like the colors. I don't think orange is used enough in sports. Hockey certainly does, but other sports not so much. So I like the use of it there. So I'm going to go with the Everblades. Now, one thing that both teams have in common, and this is a testament to having a good farm system. So the Everblades AHL affiliate is Charlotte Checkers, but their NHL affiliate is the Florida Panthers. And the Kansas City Mavericks, Seattle is their NHL affiliate, which means Coachella Valley is their AHL affiliate, and they are playing for the Western Conference Finals in the AHL right now. So both teams, you got the Panthers with the deep farm system there, and then the Kraken on the rise, and looks like the Mavericks are going to be supplementing the talent as it comes here. So we got 2 for the Everblades and 1 for the Mavericks. So there we go.
Yeah, we keep talking about where certain NHL teams can move or have to bring in new teams. Might have to bring back the Hartford Whalers just for you for that color scheme.
Yeah, I don't think they'll never go back to Hartford. I mean, they played in a mall. It's not an ideal city. You're right on the line between the Rangers and the Bruins market. There's just if they didn't go back, they can't go back there now. And if you went to Hartford before going back to Quebec, somebody might actually shoot Gary Bettman.
I was going to say nobody is getting expansion before Quebec. Okay, I've had enough about the slander. So Quebec City's got an arena. You got nobody around it. Right, they're hosting juniors and stuff like that. Beautiful place, easily accessible to everybody who needs to be there. Every other city can wait their turn. I mean, Seattle was not Seattle. Salt Lake was basically relocation-ish, kind of. That's how I sleep at night. I'd call it relocation. Gary can call it whatever he wants, but to me, it's not like a clear expansion, even though like it's a new team, new records, and all that stuff. And Arizona was just like, I don't know, discontinued if you wanted, but it's time for Quebec City, Gary.
You know what the Utah hockey franchise story is? It's the story of like a dog being rehomed out of like a house that just leaves them chained up in the backyard all day with a bowl of water and that's it. And then all of a sudden, like, nope, some with a mansion, a 3-acre yard, all the places to run around. Like that's what basically happened to the Coyotes. They went from neglect to, the mansion with the big yard. So
it wasn't even neglect. They found out they couldn't even get water. The dog didn't even have water.
He went over, tried to turn the water thing on. Oh, the water bill hasn't been paid. Whoops.
Yeah, city's like, we don't even have that. We don't have water where you're trying to stay here. We were thinking about it. That's a fair one there. I'm happy that the dog has found a new home where he can live and grow and experience the best things in his life.
And live out and just enjoy life. But so folks, that was the Stanley Cup Finals preview edition of Total Hockey Now. So the next time we're back with you next week on Tuesday, we'll have 2 games in the books, it looks like, to talk about. So and don't forget, you got the Slapshot podcast that Chris throws out. You got the Subway to Shea podcast. The Mets certainly don't ever leave anything uninteresting, win or lose. So go there. And of course, tomorrow we'll have a brand new episode of Rip and Riff back at our usual time at 3:00 Eastern, noon Pacific. But for at Ant Rivera 86 and for at Fuzzy Chris 91, I'm at Pucking Thoughts. Happy hockey watching. We'll be back next week with mid Stanley Cup Finals edition of Total Hockey Now on the Total Hockey Now YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook network.